boys and girls. How are you? I'm glad you're out there. Do you remember me? Do you remember my name? My name is Charlotte Diggs Moon, but everybody calls me Lottie.
Hi, I'm Miss Nancy Ruth. I'm a children's minister and the co-founder of Parent Road Ministries. We want to see kids living for Jesus. In this series, we'll have mission projects and hear about real missionaries. Links to the full playlist and related resources are in the description below. Let's get started!
I was born December 12th in 1840, long time ago. There were 7 children in my family, and we lived on a huge plantation. That's like a great big farm. There was enough work for everybody. The kids had to work. The boys all worked with their father in the field, and we girls, we had to learn how to take care of the house and how to cook. Do you remember what Mother taught me to make? It was cookies. That was my favorite job of all. Mother would read to us at night, and she would read stories about places around the world. And I remember one time she read a story about a man and his wife, and they went to Burma. Now that's close to China. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to go to a foreign country? And I told Mother, and Mother said, yes, it would be interesting to go to a foreign country, but it'd be more wonderful if you were going as a missionary. I thought about that. Well, my family didn't do any work on Sunday because they went to church, and I went to church with them. And you know what? The service was long, and I didn't understand all the preacher said, and I didn't really want to go. But Mother and Father kept telling me, we hope that one day you will love Jesus and you will want to go to church and worship Him there. Now I know some of you go to school and some of you stay home for school. Well, I stayed home for school. There was a teacher that lived on the plantation with us, and she taught all of us. But when I was 14, my mother sent me away to a boarding school. That's kind of like a college, I think. And I had lots of friends there, and they were very nice to me. And they would invite me to go to church, and I would say, no, thank you. I would rather be home reading a book. And they kept asking me, and I kept saying no. But one day, a friend invited me to a special prayer meeting. And I thought, well, I don't want to go. And I said, what's there to pray about? And she said, well, you might pray about yourself. And she said, the other girls and I have been praying for you. I thought, I didn't ask them to pray for me. I'll just go to church with them and I'll listen to what they hear and I'll tell them why I don't need any of that. So I did. I went. Well, the preacher at the church began to talk about Jesus, and he began to explain how Jesus can help people have a happy and useful life. And I listened to that. And I began to wonder, could Jesus really tell me how to be happy? And I had so many questions about my daily life. Could he help me there? And could he give me peace in my heart? And could he forgive me for all the wrong things that I do? That night in my room, I made a decision. I accepted Jesus in my heart. I decided that I needed his forgiveness. And I asked him to forgive me. And I accepted God's gift of salvation. And I was really happy about it. So the next morning, I could hardly wait to tell my friends, well, I'm one of you now. I'm a Christian. Then I really wanted to study my Bible, and I really wanted to read it all the time. And I found out that Jesus is the answer to all my questions. And he does show me how to live my daily life. And I had peace in my heart at last. Then one time, and I went to church then, and then one time, the preacher was talking about missionaries, and he said that they needed young people to go into different countries and to tell people about Jesus. And he said, is there anyone here today that would go to another country and tell about Jesus? And I thought, yes, there is me. And do you remember what country God called me to go to? China. Well, I packed my bags and I was going to go to China. I mean, it was a long trip. I had to go from Virginia by train all the way across the United States. Then I had to get on this great big ship, and I went on that ship for a long time. And then I had to go, when I got to Shanghai, China, then I had to get on a little boat and go across a river. And then I had to go in a wagon to get to Tingchao. Can you say Tingchao? That's an interesting name, isn't it? Well, when I got to Tingchao, I couldn't even say hello. I had to start learning Chinese really, really fast. And you know what? Chinese does not look like our language at all. Chinese looks like this. Yes, it's not ABCs. And they read from this way across instead of like we read from here across. And this is what hello looks like. In fact, this is how it sounds. It's ni hao. Can you say that with me? Ni hao. And that's Chinese to say hello. So I had to learn a lot of Chinese really fast to be able to talk to the people. And while I was there, I taught children, boys and girls just like you, how to read and write English. That was new to them. Then one day I heard about a town called, a village really, called Pingtu. Can you say Pingtu? And I heard that the people in Pingtu had never heard about Jesus at all, ever. And I decided I wanted to go there and tell them about Jesus. But my goodness, they said, no, you can't go to Pingtu. It's too dangerous for a woman to go. And besides that, you're a foreigner, and they don't like foreigners. So I thought, well, I remember Hebrews 13:5, and that's where God says, never will I leave you or forsake you. So I knew I wouldn't be going alone, and I went. I went at nighttime in a wagon, and I went to Pingtu. Well, I got to Pingtu, and they were not friendly at all. I invited women to come to my house, and they wouldn't come. And I invited children to have cookies, and they wouldn't eat them. They were afraid of me. They called me a foreign devil. That was terrible. Well, it was very sad, but one day, a brave little boy decided he would try my cookie, and he ate one, and he did not die. And so his friends came and ate cookies, and we became good friends. And they loved to hear stories about Jesus. It was wonderful to tell them about Jesus. But I still had no adult friends there at all. So after a long time, I went back to Tingchao. And I decided that I was going to come home to America for a rest. But first, I decided to write some letters, and I wrote a letter to go all the way back to Virginia to the Foreign Missionary Board to ask them to send more missionaries to help. Well, you know how long it took me to get to China? It took a long time for that letter to get to Virginia. And then it took a long time for their letter to come back to me. And when it got there, the answer was no. They didn't have the money. There wasn't enough money to send any helpers. Well, that made me very sad, and I decided I would go back to America, and I would have a rest. I had been there 10 years. Well, I packed my bag, and the night before I was going to leave Tingchao, there was a knock at my door, and I opened the door, and there were two men standing there, and they said, "We are from Pingtu." Well, I was quite surprised. And then they said, "The women and the children want you to come back to Pingtu and help them." Oh my goodness, I could hardly believe it. I went back to Pingtu, and I was there a long time. And the women accepted me, and they did not call me old devil woman or foreign devil anymore. They called me Lottie. Isn't that funny? Lottie. And that just meant heavenly book visitor, because the heavenly book is the Bible, and I taught them the Bible. So I was in China for a long time. It was like 40 years. But finally, I was able to go house to house and tell people about Jesus, and I love doing that. Remember I told you about that letter that said no, there was not enough money? Well, that letter made an impact that I sent back. And the Southern Baptist women in the United States began to collect an offering, and they called it the Christmas offering. And that first year that they did it in 1887, they collected $3,000. And that was enough then to send 3 missionary helpers to China. Wasn't that wonderful? Well, that was such a success, they kept doing that offering every year. And you know what? In 1918, they named it after me, the Lottie Moon Christmas offering. That was so special. And that money goes all around to missionaries all over the world today, so that they can be helped to tell people about Jesus. And you know what? You and you and you can help too. Every nickel and dime and dollar that you give to the Lottie Moon offering helps missionaries to tell about Jesus. And you know something else? You don't even have to be a grown-up to be a missionary and tell someone about Jesus.
But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem, in all Judea and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. Acts 1:8.